One of the most common questions I see is, should Klay Thompson be an all-league defender? He made the second team this year for the first time in his career, but many of his defensive metrics are underwhelming and have left analysts debating his defensive chops. To begin with, Klay has a big frame for a guard, standing over 6'7" in shoes with a respectable 6'9" wingspan, and he uses that size well to stifle dribble penetration against skilled slashers. He often opens his stance like this, shading a ball handler to one side, which allows him to quickly swivel his hips to the baseline. Here, he's square to Gallinari, but immediately spins his hips all the way around to stay with his penetration. The result is more of a running action than a classic defensive slide. Notice the head and shoulders barely turn, but the feet almost point to the baseline, and this allows Klay to stay balanced and connected, and his size leads to a block here. On this play, he's running alongside Eric Gordon and attacking the ball for a tie-up. Thompson is generally active as a man defender like this, often on the balls of his feet ready to change directions, and strong reaction time helps him stay with his marks. Here was a last-second play at the end of Game 3 against Houston this year. First, Klay does a good job quickly stepping in front of the screen. The Rockets want to switch so Paul can attack Curry, but Klay denies it twice. Note he briefly shifts into position to run alongside Paul, but instantly pauses when Chris does, then quickly flips his hips into those long strides, and Paul's trying to drive into him to create space on his right, but Klay's still on top of him and long enough to tie up the ball. It's a great sequence. Klay generally matches up with the opposing team's top perimeter attacker, according to NBA.com matchup data and a player's PIPM. His technique of running downhill makes him a touch vulnerable to stepbacks like this, but it's a small price to pay for taking away the rim. Again, his momentum helps him keep pace and prevent layups, but it makes those stepbacks hard to contest. He doesn't always contain quicker guards either. Here he keeps a neutral stance against Damian Lillard and can't recover after a change of pace. But this just prevents him from being exceptional. He's rarely beaten off the bounce despite regularly covering slippery point guards like this. At 6'7", he does a solid job navigating high ball screens, but his lack of agility can betray him sometimes. On this set, he takes a beat to change directions and falls behind the action. Something like this happens from time to time too, where he trails a high screen but can't change direction sharply enough to stay connected to the play. On this one, he does a much better job maintaining contact. Notice that left foot sneaking around the screen and then the hand in the passing lane before switching onto a center, and he's strong enough there to hold his own for a second before help comes. Klay's ability to guard any perimeter player, quick or strong, makes him switchable and has allowed the Warriors to deploy flexible defensive lineups over the years. Here, Giannis couldn't overpower him, and so he just kind of gets stuck. He wasn't overmatched by Kawhi Leonard's physical strength in the finals. And again, he can re-switch here after the smaller Curry ends up on a big, and that versatility from a guard patches up gaps in a switch-heavy defense. Millsap moves him a little bit, but this is solid defense, especially from a guard. Off the ball, Klay does a solid job executing Golden State's scheme. This is a textbook rotation where he slides with the ball before blowing up an ill-advised pass. He's generally solid on this low man rotation, especially when he sees the ball screen action unfolding before him, and his size also helps in these spots too. He's solid helping the helper as well, recognizing that first help has left and sliding down to cover, and here reading the play to finish with a strong closeout. On this one, Thompson reacts with the ball, realizing Harden has a step, and then throws the hands up to block the corner pass beautifully. He does, however, lack vision defensively and struggles recognizing more fluid plays. He's very vulnerable to these back cuts when he's trying to locate the ball, and he's prone to lapses like this when chasing shooters around screens. Here he seems to forget about Harris entirely. Klay can be a bit spacey like this. He's glancing down at the floor here instead of identifying the pick and roll that's unfolding, and the result is an easy rocket layup. Here's a play from the Clippers series where he should be anticipating a rotation with Curry fronting the bigger Gallinari, but he's a bit slow to react to the whole thing, and the deep catch leads to 2. Thompson has some value chasing shooters, using his size and ability to track them, but he's still shaky when he can't see the basketball. There's that back door again. He's sloppy in transition too. Here's a play where he loses Pascal Siakam while locating the ball, but then doesn't realize there's another cutter in front of him and it's another layup. He can be slow on change of possession too often for my taste. He often sulks in the backcourt before running back into the play like this. That's his man who's wide open for 3 here. Here he would be level with Clint Capella if he hustled back after the turnover, and instead compounds the mistake by lingering in the backcourt before finally showing up when it's too late. He doesn't add much value on the glass either, almost never snaring contested rebounds or winning position battles, and as a result he's in the 25th percentile in defensive rebounding rate among shooting guards and near the bottom of the league in more complex rebounding stats. More importantly, Klay only brings mild value as a paint defender. He's big enough to make plays occasionally, his timing and technique help him against less bouncy finishers, but against more vertical opponents he can't get way up there to bother their attempts. His 1.5% block percentage is respectable for a guard, but it's not great among small forwards. He's certainly not bad in this area, he just doesn't add too much value here either. Those defensive numbers I referenced earlier make Klay look like one of the weaker defensive guards in the league this year, and this isn't a single-year pattern. Thompson's best 3-year PIPM defensive value is just around average, unbecoming of an all-defensive guard. But more granular numbers reveal what we just saw on the film. Klay's one of the better on-ball defensive wings in the league, according to Synergy, and using NBA.com matchup data, he's versatile and skilled as well. Among players with 1,000 defensive possessions matched up against a point guard, Klay held opposing ones farther below their scoring rate and effective field goal percentage than any other player in the whole league. A lot of that, of course, is linked to Golden State's other strong defenders like Draymond Green, but I also think it reflects Thompson's strengths here, matching up against attacking guards. There is enough noise in that plus-minus data for it to be reasonably likely that Klay's actually a positive defender. That, coupled with Andre Iguodala often taking his minutes, makes me think these one-number defensive metrics are missing Thompson's overall value. On the other hand, anyone who focuses solely on man defense will end up overrating Klay, who's far weaker off the ball and lacks playmaking as a team defender. Overall, I'm not sure Thompson would crack my all-defensive guard list, but his versatility and his talent when the ball is in his line of sight make him a clear positive defender for me, and I describe him in 2019 as a good defensive guard. One more thing to note with Klay, so much of his movement is north-south that I think he'll be fine returning from his ACL tear on both ends of the court. If you want to support this channel, you can sign up over at patreon.com/thinkingbasketball and receive all kinds of extra content, including brand new access to some videos before they are publicly available. As always, thanks so much for tuning in, and I hope that you're having a great day.